how many people in this room would, how do you, let's say you want to put in a patio. What do you do? What do you do, Josephine? What's your process?
Oh, really?
Well,
Why? Finding money.
well, let's assume you've got a budget, you're
Okay.
ready to go,
Yep.
and you wanna put that patio in. You probably call maybe 3, 4 different
Contractors.
contractors, you do all the right stuff, you check their insurance, blah, 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 and then, you go from there, right? You bring in a bunch of contractors.
Yep.
Right? You're gonna buy, for the bank, you're gonna choose coffee service. We're gonna call in a bunch of vendors, right? So I guess my point is, if you're gonna buy something, typically your first reaction is to bring in a bunch of people, have them quote or bid the job, or the service, supplies, whatever it might be, and then go with what you think is the best vendor. And that could be a combination of price and service, but you're gonna bring in a bunch of people. In insurance, a lot of people think that that's the same way that you should run the process. I have had a couple, maybe 4 meetings this week where I've, at the initial meeting, once finding out that they brought in 3 or 4 others, asked a client to do something that typically they might not think, might actually run counter to that thinking of bringing a bunch of vendors, running the bid process, which was to choose your broker first. And what I mean by that is that I think a lot of people think that if they coordinate this bid process, have these brokers come in, that they'll be able to get the best insurance service and product. And I think that's sort of counter to how you should actually do it. And let me sort of explain it. I'll go to the whiteboard.
Whiteboard. I don't know whiteboard, it was whiteboard.
All right, so let's just, for simplicity's sake, let's just use 3 agents. So we've got Agent A, 3-star agency. These guys are fantastic. They come with full risk assessment and analysis folks. They've got on-site or on-staff claims people. They've got dedicated account manager and a customer service rep. These guys are the top of the heap when it comes to an insurance broker or agency. A lot of value-added services. They know their products very well. They know their insurance incredibly well, and they can bring a lot to the table. Agent B, broker B, good folks, solid business. Not really as much on the service end as broker A. Broker C, he's a guy with a phone and a couple of markets. Good guy, works hard, but he's out just selling business and nothing more. Maybe not even that good at, from an insurance knowledge piece, because believe it or not, it's incredibly easy to get into the business, as evidenced by me standing up here talking about insurance. So now you've got a carrier. So we'll call it insurance carrier number 1. 3 stars, best of the best. They have excellent programs in place to help clients reduce risk. They've got all the right endorsements, competitively priced. They are in the market for whatever your business is. So these guys really, they know it inside and out. Excuse me, not C, let's call it A. Sorry. Carrier A. Carrier B, 2-star. Lots of good services. It's easy when you do 2 stars and not 3. Lots of good services, but not as good as A. And then Carrier C. Just in the business, maybe they can make a couple of bucks. So what happens is, you're sitting here and you're saying, Agent A, or Broker A, Broker B, Broker C, we're going to assign you, take a market or go find a market and come back to me and then present your quotes. When you think you're going out, just like you're going to get quotes on coffee service or paper or having somebody maybe do some work or a foot of lumber, you get back the price, you measure it all up, and you go, that's the best way to do it. Well, this way, I'd argue, is taking the control out of your hands and then putting it in the hands of the marketplace. So what I mean by that is, Broker C goes to market because he's really quick, goes to carrier number 1, or carrier A. So he goes to carrier A, he's got worst services with the best company. We'll put carrier B with agent B, and then for whatever reason, broker A ends up with carrier C. And so what you've just done is you put the best carrier with the worst broker, the worst carrier with the best broker. You haven't interviewed these brokers, so you haven't really figured out what they can do for you. You're just making a decision purely on price. That's the wrong way, because you could say, guy was great in the quote process, but now you have a loss. Carrier A is great at handling those losses, but if we don't have the knowledge, the product knowledge, or if we haven't even set you up with the right endorsements right out of the gate, you might not be covered, because carrier C didn't have his product knowledge in place. Because believe it or not, when we go ahead and put that insurance program in place, it usually starts with a basic form that's put out by ISO, and there's one other one that's out there. So Insurance Services Organization, it's a common form. What makes that form better or worse than anybody else's are the endorsements and the exclusions. This guy's great at just placing, and so we got you a form that has the basics and one endorsement, where broker A would go to carrier A and get this form. We have all the contingencies because broker A took the time to understand your business. That's what they do, they're great at it. And so now you've got a claim. Broker C is not going to advocate for you because that's just not what they do. Not only is he not going to advocate for you, he puts you with the best carrier, but didn't endorse the policies properly. So now what you've done is you've made a mistake and you found out the hard way. So what we suggest and what we ask our clients to do, before we get into the brokering process, because to be honest with you, that's about 5% of what we do. 95% of what we do is doing the site inspections, the recommendations, the coordination of services from the carrier, all of the ancillary, quote unquote, that may not be important when you're thinking about trying to save some money, stuff that's important for when you have a claim and you need advocacy. And so that's why when I've sat down with 4 clients this week, I asked every single one of them, that's great, thanks for giving me the opportunity to come in and introduce myself, but before we do anything, before we get in the pool and try to do anything like concerning getting you a bid for your insurance, choose one of us. And so that's kind of how we would do that, because once you choose us, we can run the bid process. It's completely transparent. And if the broker won't run it transparently, then maybe you're not the right broker. But we'll go out, everybody in this marketplace that's a commercial shop or a personal line shop of a certain size, and it's not big, should have access through either direct relationships with their carriers or marketing relationships. You can join a market, you can join a group, you pay a fee to, and they'll get you into any market you can think of. So the argument that a shop has better carriers than I do, or than say Jeff does, or Jeff, those are gone. Those days are gone, because I can get to all the same markets. And then I can go back and put all of the quotes in front of you and let you know. That way we're now actually looking at an apples to apples comparison. We're looking at this form with these endorsements that match your business from carrier A, carrier B, and carrier C. We're not looking at disparate forms. It's the one thing, everybody sees the price. These are contract, this is contract law. You read these endorsements, and exclusions, by the way, which can either give or take coverage away, so it gets even more complex. You're relying on yourself to try to figure that out if you run the broker process. So it's a pretty soon you can, if you think about it, you really should choose somebody and let them run the process. So that's that. That's my
What is your name again?
Peter.
And who do you work for?
A company called Provider Insurance Group.
And where are they over there?
Where are they?
Uh-huh.
We're a 5-star agency. So I use 3 stars just to simplify it, but we're a 5-star agency. Trusted choice, so it's a certification process. We've got, I don't know the exact count, but I'd say we've probably got maybe access to 8 to 10 national markets, which we've got direct relationships. And then we've got multiple
What's an example of that?
of
Natural market.
a national market. So I've got a contract with the Peerless or the Hanover Group or Travelers or, another carrier that you know.
Yeah.
Where it's, if I bring them a certain level of business, it's just like we're sales reps for those guys. And
Sure.
now, somebody that's not a natural market for me, but I have access to, is the Hartford. So I would just go to my marketing group and get access to that market. And then there's a series of additional markets. Sometimes you get into some pretty specialized businesses where that may be the best market. And then something that I would say is way outside that is excess and surplus. It's sort of market of last resort. The way the law reads in Massachusetts is, if I can't place you with any of my markets that are admitted in the state, then my last option is to take you out to the excess and surplus, Lloyd's of London. Usually those policies read this, that's it. Very few endorsements, very skinny, not a lot of cover.
Is that considered a pool?
No, pool is a completely different area. Anytime you're statutorily required to carry insurance, you've got to provide a facility for somebody to go get that insurance. So even if I'm a habitual speeder and I'm required to carry insurance, no one's going to write me, so I've got to go to the market of last resort, which is the pool. So carriers like CNA, Travelers, Liberty, etc., will jump into a pool. In order to be an admitted market, they'll do two things. They'll have to take pool risks, and that goes for workers' comp and auto insurance in the state of Massachusetts. And they'll also pay into a general fund, so that if one of those companies becomes insolvent, the funding in the general fund can pay for losses. So let's say the Travelers goes out of business, and everybody goes, oh, that'll never happen. Well, it would happen to AIG if we didn't bail them out.
Right.
So let's say they go out of business, I have a claim, the general fund would pay that because they were an admitted carrier. An excess and surplus carrier does not pay into that, and you wouldn't have any cover if they went out of business then. And everybody thinks Lloyd's of London is one company per se. It's not. It's actually a series of syndicates. So it's a bunch of folks in a room like this saying, okay, the four of us will get together and we'll write that risk. And then a different day, it's the two of us are going to get together and write that type of risk. So it's very fluid.
No, where do you
Stable, but
where do you place the internet insurance, the Geico's and places like that, as far as the ABCs and what they provide? Are they providing just one, like their own insurance, or are they shopping it out to?
everybody works off of common form. The problem with the internet insurance is, so we're online, we want to save a couple of bucks. So we're going to save $15 on my policy. How many people in the room can tell me what a PIP is? Okay, let's try personal insurance. Anybody know what that is? Do you know what it does? I don't know what it does. Let's take that off and save 15 bucks. You get in an accident, in Massachusetts, there isn't an independent insurance agent that'll let you take that off for $15. Because if you get in an accident, there's $8,000 there, which is the basic standard starting point, that will allow you to have somebody come in and clean your house. They'll come in and do the marketing for you if you need to go to the grocery store. So what happens when you go to an online insurance broker, direct, is that you don't have anybody there to help you answer that question. So you start peeling stuff out, and now you're without the cover that you would have needed. You get into an accident and you're hurt. You may have the state minimum 20/40, but for a couple of bucks more, maybe it's at 8, maybe it's at 12. It's been a while since I worked on an auto policy. You could jump your limits from 20/40 in bodily injury to 100, 300. $100,000 is you're gonna have half a shot at getting somebody fixed in an accident if you caused it. 20 grand, not likely. Guess what? Now you're coming out of your pocket. So if somebody's gonna sue you, you're gonna have to defend the suit. You won't have any coverage. So they can be good. There are some great organizations. Amica's one that's got great customer service, but you could have a situation where you don't have the right coverage. These guys that work in the claims and loss departments don't go on the company trips and get all the recognition and accolades from the carriers by just accepting every single claim. And that's the biggest thing that one of these brokers should be able to do for you, is be an advocate. We're outside, so we're outside the company relationship, I don't work directly for Travelers or Hartford or Hanover or anybody like that. I work for provider insurance and the client. So my first responsibility is the broker. Now you work with somebody from State Farm or Farm Family, great companies. Problem is if you get into a claim, how hard can that agent who's a direct employee advocate on your behalf in a loss situation? That's the single biggest thing that we do when the rubber hits the road. You know, so, you know, Farm Family guy sells you the standard policy with these endorsements when he should have sold you those. You're gonna have to go to a lawyer and sue Farm Family, who's got an army of lawyers, to get the cover. It's just not gonna happen. Now, if that's your business, you've got everything invested in there, and one of your employees, you know, killed somebody in a situation, maybe it was on the road or whatever, and there was a mistake made, you're out of business. So that's why, and I obviously am partial to independent brokers and agents, and then I think that's why you should also choose your broker first. What kind of services can they deliver? It's just like choosing a CPA or a lawyer, you know, or a banker to a degree. What can they bring to the table that, it's just not, it's not a commodity, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Make sense?
Not one size fits all.
Definitely not one size fits all. Definitely not one size fits all. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.